Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Country with the weekly comic book roundup. We've covered this week's X-Men books. Now it's on to this week's Avengers titles. Kicking things off, we've got Black Widow number 15. Sadly, the final issue of the series. It is, sadly. So where we left off, while chasing a lead on some questionable intel, Black Widow and her team infiltrated a high society gala in San Francisco and split up to basically, basically mess shit up. Most of the team got captured, as well as the those who were who they got their intel from. And Black Widow ended up face to face with an old enemy, the Living Blade, who during their fight took her arm. So, after having her arm cut off, Black Widow continues to fight, but she notices Clint pop in, and he signs bomb, and lets loose an explosive, an explosive arrow, which blows up and manages to cut the fight off. Liv is trying to save the life of one of the twins. There was basically kind of that, if they basically if one took all the energy from power from the other, they could possibly get free. Aranya deals with the security guards coming in. Clint manages to get Natasha out of there, and one of the people they've rescued is a boy named Will, who has healing and regenerative abilities, and so they basically reattach Black Widow's severed arm, and Black Widow's shown something. But up at the roof, Winter Soldier does what he can to stop the ringleader of the whole thing. And the twins drop her from the roof and tell Winter Soldier that Natasha lost an arm. Natasha, meanwhile, has discovered that this entire group appears to be experimenting on apogee. And so Black Widow frees apogee and destroys all the research. Meanwhile, the Living Blade and Yelena are having themselves a duel, but Natasha deals with him and spares him. And turns out, though, the building is not wired to blow, as the ringleader of the whole thing was dropped from the roof before she could activate self-destruct. Nat and Bucky have a quick moment, and Natasha asks if any of her team managed to eat it, or Liv asks if any of the team got to eat any of the fancy food, and so they go back in and enjoy the fancy food. And Natasha's thinking about Stevie and James and how that's a life that she can't have. But this is good too, and it will do. And that is where the series comes to its close, sadly. I really liked this Black Widow series. The two Black Widow ongoings that I've read over the last few years, I've honestly enjoyed immensely. The Selsko sisters Black Widow book, which I think was supposed to be an ongoing, but I assume they had something came up, and so it simply became a mini series. But it was good. I also enjoyed Kelly Thompson's sadly just wrapped Black Widow ongoing. Moving on to our next book, though, we've got Captain Marvel Annual #1. Pretty sure there have been additional Captain Marvel annuals, but yeah. So, it's explained once upon a time, back in her binary days, Carol and the Starjammers, who were renegade space pirates, engaged in interstellar adventures and ultimately teamed up to defeat the Brood. That was a long time ago, and Carol was past her pirating days. Right? So in Krisak airspace, Carol Carol wins a bug race. Her opponents accuse her of cheating. Fight breaks out, and everyone gets arrested. Turns out that the Krisak government is famous for two things: their secrecy and their prison. The luxurious spaceport was reportedly built to attract outsiders whose unfamiliarity with the Krisak justice system ensures an endless supply of new blood to Ashmount Prison. Prisoners work off their time in the mines that fund the shiny surface cities, never expected to experience their unjust and totalitarian regime firsthand. She's sentenced to 24 months of hard time. And you get level clearances. And you can buy level clearance by adding time to your sentence. But Carol goes after level 1 and promptly finds the Starjammers. And with the Starjammers was also a young Kree girl, Bean. She explained that the lab she was living in, where she was, and the project she was part of, was shut down, and the scientists left. And she got the Starjammers, and they were supposed to get her to Carol, but yeah. So Carol causes a prison break, manages to get loose. The Starjammers get to the Starjammer, and manage to get off world. But it turns out that that there are 4 Kree ships, presumably the scientists, at the space dock. So Bean hops aboard, takes an escape shuttle, and flies off. Carol goes to rescue her, and as rockets are fired at the ship, the ship is seemingly blown up, and no trace of her. So, but it was all part of it was all part of the plan. Fake her death so she could hide, and so the Starjammers take her to another planet where the doctor, Dr. Istra, who helped Bean with becoming who she is, basically, is raising the other kids from the same group, and so Carol leaves Bean there. Starjammers fly off back into space for more piracy hijinks, and obviously Carol flies back to Earth, and that is where the issue ends. A fun little annual. This is I get the feeling this is probably going to be go down as a prime example of what I was talking about earlier about annuals with concerning the X-Force annual. How sometimes an annual has no real impact until years later when another writer comes along and decides, oh, I like this, I really like that annual, I want to continue that story. So anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Moon Knight number 10. Where we left off, an assassin named Rutherford Winter had broken out of the Ravencroft Institute and had gone after the Midnight Mission. And was going after the Midnight Mission. Also, Zodiac, who has taken an interest in Moon Knight, confronted Moon Knight's therapist, Dr. Andrea Sturman, at her home. But we begin with the framing device of the issue is a session between Moon Knight and Dr. Sturman. And he informed her that he had met another one of her patients, Rutherford Winter. They fought it out. And Sturman's opinions are, like he's a wild dog. He needs to be contained. And but Moon Knight explains to the doctor that she's wrong about Winter. He wants to. He wants to get better, and Moon Knight continues telling the doctor about Winter, and then reveals that he knows he's not actually talking to the doctor. Instead, it's the serial killer Waxman. And so, Moon Knight takes care of Waxman, putting Waxman in a steel ball. And say he'll wake Moon Knight out. He's got all the time in the world. Moon Knight says you're going to need it because if he's not told he wants to know, concrete will be poured over the steel ball, and the ball will become part of the foundation of a upcoming overpriced condo building. As Moon Knight puts it, execution by gentrification. But Waxman tells them what they want to hear, and Moon Knight pours the concrete anyway. And so, Soldier, Tigra, and Rutherford Winter go after Zodiac. Go to find the doctor and take down Zodiac. That is where the issue ends. Another solid issue. I mean, yeah. Seriously, another good issue. But one plot point wasn't brought up is the fact that how Moon Knight knew that it wasn't the Doctor. Two dead women not anywhere near Moon Knight's territory. Almost like they hoped that he wouldn't notice, but well, yeah, he did. But yeah, anyway. Moving on to our last book for the moment, we got She-Hulk number 3. Where we left off, the Jade Giantess has been getting back to being a lawyer and dealing with the fact that Jack Hart has suddenly appeared in her apartment and is basically crashing on her couch. So, but it turns out that The law firm she's working at has employed a former associate of Jen's from a previous firm, Awesome Andy, explaining that the bad thing had reprogrammed him. Mal had managed to restore Andy from backups. But she calls various former clients, and yeah, nothing. The thing calls her. Apparently, he had a summons, which he kind of missed. She also gets a call from Quicksilver over a speeding ticket. She returns to her apartment with a pizza for Jack of Hearts. And they begin to think that maybe he does. He recites his origin to her, and it's kind of explaining that all of it he knows he's been told by others. These aren't things he remembers experiencing. And so, but and apparently his powers seem to be on the fritz. As he explained that his power feels out of reach. But She-Hulk calls Hellcat, and she bemoans the fact she no longer has an Avengers clearance, so she can't see Jack Hart's file, but does maybe seem like Patsy can help her out, considering that Patsy is, dating Iron Man. But she laid out some clothes for Jack of Hearts, and explaining with the clothes that yes, she will tease him, and that is where the issue ends. This has been a really fun book, and back during Civil War, was the first time I read She-Hulk started reading She-Hulk on a regular basis during Dan Slott's run, and it was, this isn't the same, but it feels similar. It in many ways it feels a lot like a logical progression of the Slott run. But that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.